Hello and welcome everyone. Today we are starting the first of our series where manufacturers from different parts of the world who have gone through digitalization, who have implemented smart manufacturing in their plants, who have actually started their smart manufacturing journeys long time ago, are sharing their stories with other manufacturers in US and around the globe. How did they decide on smart manufacturing? What were the challenges, difficulties that led them to start smart manufacturing? What kind of difficulties they have faced during an implementation of a smart manufacturing system? What kind of benefits did they achieve? Did they achieve their targets? So these are some of the questions we will be talking about, and we'll have more manufacturers talk about smart manufacturing with us. And today I'm really excited to be starting this series with Gani Harputoğlu. He is in charge of smart manufacturing and digitalization at Nitto in Istanbul, Turkey. He has actually led the efforts in deploying a smart manufacturing from the installation phase. Before Nitto, he was also a part of PM, Digitalization and Smart Manufacturing Group. He also led the efforts there with smart manufacturing. So he has a lot of experience that he's going to share with us. He's also a good friend of mine. We had met at one of the smart manufacturing summits that ProManage has at the Mediterranean coast. We met him in 2018, and we are very good friends since then. Welcome, Gani. Thanks for being with us.
Hello, Mustafa. Thank you very much for the introduction. And nice to see you again. Long time no see.
Sure, sure.
Yes. So I am
Good to
also
see you.
happy to be here, and I'm also happy to see you here. It's also nice to be sharing the experiences and also having such kind of conversation and talk with you, because it has always been some fruitful discussions with you for the future of the digitalization in the events we have met. So I hope it will be also nice talking again.
Sure,
So thank you
sure.
very much.
Yeah, thanks for joining. So let's dive in. Maybe we can start with learning a little bit about Nitto. What kind of products does Nitto produce? What kind of production processes you have in your plant? So if you can start with that, that would be great.
Yeah, so shortly to mention from global to local. So globally, when we mention Nitto is a Japanese company. Maybe some of you know, maybe you don't know, but it's also an innovation company. So we have around 39 production facilities around the world. So it's basically a technology company, and the core business is adhesive and the tapes. Uh, in different industries. And locally in Turkey, we are also producing different types of tapes. In here, we have around 500 employees here, uh, and also the time I joined Nitto was 2015, and our company has become a Japanese company in 2012. Previously, it was a Turkish company. So since then, we are now in transition phase to become Japanese, let's say. So maybe my eyes going narrower and narrower day by day, what my friends say. So that's basically what we do, and we are mostly making a continuous process. So we are making roll or jumbo type of products, and also in some processes we have quantity based and also kg based, kilogram based production, but the majority is the continuous process actually. So we have around 80 machines. So some of them are really big machines, some of them are small machines, but we have quite complex production process also.
Mhm. So it's fair to say that you have a variety of different manufacturing process within your plant, right?
Yes, variety of processes, and also in terms of the machine lifetime, some of the processes are quite old, some of them are quite new. It's also a mix of old and new production processes.
No. Okay. Okay. So let's go back to the so let's try to replicate the journey that you had. So when you are first taking the first steps towards digitalization, what kind of problems, what kind of requirements led you towards digitalization? And then how did you realize digitalization or smart manufacturing can actually help you with those problems or requirements that you had? I'm asking this because there are manufacturers within US and globally that are somewhat thinking about digitalization, but they're not sure whether smart manufacturing can help them uh, with their problems that they're facing right now. So.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, as we all know, the digitalization is an old journey. So even the ProManage is an old company doing this job. So with the experience. So when I first come to Nitto in 2015, I was guessing that it was my first time working in a Japanese company. In 3M, in an US company, I was also doing this kind of digitalization activities. So I was thinking that the company is quite advanced in terms of this kind of technologies. But when I saw that around 2015, many things were going manually, let's say. So there was a production follow on the shop floor with some of them were with the forms, with paper forms, some of them with the Excel files, and some of them was with some small softwares, let's say. So it was quite unorganized, and people were trying to manage the data. And I also remember the time that I was working on some Excel files to make some macro on them to follow up the scraps and the production stops in my first joining to Nitto. But then I consider that there is already some solutions on in there. So the technology is already advanced, but we are not there. So I was also surprised that even globally in Nitto, it was not really in advanced level in terms of digitalization. So it was a chance also for us to lead this kind of advanced improvements. Uh, Therefore, it was not really difficult to convince the top management about this one because as a process manager, I was not really able to make improvements because I didn't have real data in my hands. So the time in our hands, so we were spending to justify and to verify if the data we are gathering with paper forms with Excel files is correct or not. So, but uh, we should spend our time for analyzing the real and true data and making the improvements. So to allocate our time for the right improvements, let's say. Uh, so as I said, it was not really difficult to convince the management, but it is difficult to convince the people on the shop floor and also in the office level, because it is in a point it's a change. So there is always resistance to change. Then it needs to be a quite a good solution in hand and with really basic usage experience and with a user friendly interface, let's say,
Mhm,
to make people easier than what they already do. So in that step, actually, ProManage was I think was a good solution.
mhm,
And a people and the management are generally afraid that digitalization solutions are quite expensive. But considering the outcomes, potential outcomes, if you really make a good analysis, it's really peanuts
mhm,
the money you spent. This is the positive side, let's say. But of course, if you have an old machine park, if you have a lot of machines, it's not easy really to establish this kind of technology. But with a good teamwork, let's say, internally and externally, also by the support of the company ProManage, uh, for 80 machines in 4 months of time. I remember from April 2016 to August 2016, we were collecting real data from the machine. So it was quite tough, but good times, let's say.
Mhm. So, so it's for you like the main reason, towards digitalization was the need to get reliable data in a centralized platform where you
Yes.
can see you establish your baseline benchmark metrics, and then anything that any improvement activities that you do, you can actually measure the benefits with the system. uh, uh, that's kind of the main motivating factor for you to go towards digitalization.
Yes, yes, exactly. Just an as an example, so I mentioned that I made a Excel file with some macros on it. Uh, as a manager, I was spending maybe half of my time on the shop floor to check if the operators are really using this Excel file correctly. They are selecting the correct reason, or there is any error with the file. This kind of thing. So it was out of my job scope normally, but to
Sure.
to be able to collect the correct data and real data, I had to do it, and it was also not live data. Let's say we were
Right.
able to analyze the day before.
Mhm.
I was not able to analyze the moments, what's going
Mhm.
on the shop floor at that moment. So uh, of course, we as the engineers, we need to go to shop floor and search for the reasons. But we shouldn't spend our time to justify the data.
Right.
So, as I said, to use our resources correctly. So this kind of step forward was really necessary.
Mhm. Okay, so you had this requirement, and then now when you are making a purchasing decision, so you decided on getting a smart manufacturing system.
Yes.
You need to choose a software provider or service provider. When you're doing making the decision, what kind of criteria was important for you in the selection? What are the points other manufacturers listening to you should consider before deciding on which provider to work with when they are implementing a smart manufacturing system?
I think that the business analysis and the system analysis before this kind of investment is really critical. In that phase, we work with different companies, uh, but the support these companies are giving is the content of the support is different. So it's not a package solution, let's say. Some of them are giving business analysis support, some of them are giving system analysis support, some of them are just selling the software. So not helping technically. So just saying that you do the cabling, we sell the software. So this kind of differences are really important. So if you are a company like us who has really different processes, different type of machinery, let's say, know-how from the business, from the other manufacturers is really important. So in that phase, we could also get some kind of know-how. So how to collect the data, and how to settle the technological infrastructure. Some kind of guidance is important. So we didn't feel for some companies in selection phase we felt alone, we didn't, but for some of them we didn't feel. And also of course the price is important, as I said.
Mhm.
I don't know the station at the moment, but in that time, and I mentioned 2015 16, the the investment amount between different companies was really fluctuating. And of course how wide it is used, because uh, just as an example, so uh, I had joined a demo study of a very big ERP company, but for their MES module. But as I said, they are ERP company. They are not in an MES company. So their experience and know-how in terms of MES was not very wide. So they didn't have experiences from different business sectors. So this kind of inputs are really, really important also.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, more or less I can mention these points. Yeah.
Sure. So, did you have a chance to do like benchmark studies with other companies? That's using the smart manufacturing solution during the purchasing time frame.
Yes, of course. The easiest way to convince the management, top management for investment activities is showing real examples and real results. So in that phase, for example, with ProManage, we had chance to do benchmark with 3 different companies for 3 different scopes. So for example, we as management team around 8, 9, 10 people, we could go to benchmark visits to other companies. They were able to share their real experiences and they were showing what they are doing on the shop floor. So it was also really impressive for us. Uh, so until that time, also my peers, let's say the other managers like the production manager, planning manager, or the technical manager, was not really convinced how this will help us because people's also mindset about the digitalization is not the same level for everyone. Many people still are very confused about digitalization. If it
Right.
is a marketing activity or it's really beneficial activity. So it was a sign that there are really good examples having benefits, which can help them to contribute to the company more and more. So
Mhm.
this benchmark activities was very important also.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's very important to see in real life what some other company has
Yes,
done,
yes,
and seeing the system in place
yes,
in a manufacturing plant and talking to them and getting the getting questions to some of the answers that you had in mind. It's very important to convince both management or also both the team that's gonna actually use the solution and in the factory floor. So that's an important factor.
yes,
Okay.
yes. That was really important. It
Okay.
was it was a time that I got relaxed doing the investment because the support from other teams is really important. It's not the one I can do it alone.
Mhm, mhm. Okay. So let's say so you made a decision. Now you are trying to implement the smart manufacturing system in your plant. What kind of difficulties, challenges have you experienced? What were the problems that you had to overcome? Which ones were the harder problems to overcome? Because getting a smart manufacturing is not just buying a software and a set of process. It's also a whole cultural process. So,
Yes,
what were the main difficulties during the implementation phase? Is my question.
yes. So you pointed out the cultural as word. So that's a reminder to me because as I said, we are Japanese company, but we are a local Turkish company. So the cultures are really different, and maybe or for example, Japanese people are quite conservative for making decisions, so to make changes. So it's I always say that it's hard to enter in the mind of a Japanese company, but if you enter, it's hard to exit also. So if when they are convinced, it's really easy to move on after that. For example, you can check at Toyota as a car, they don't change the design too much because when they do a good practice, they try to continue it. They try to be sustainable. So it was hard to convince the Japanese side about this kind of activity. But but when we show that the power of the data, because we could do the benchmark from also other companies, it was understood that data is asset. So also looking from the industry 4.0 perspective, for example, Japanese culture is resistant to industry 4.0 because they call it as a opposite side, they call it people 5.0. They try to give asset to people because digitalization was meaning elimination of people for them, but it's not that. We could show that it was a sign to use the people more efficiently. uh, uh, so just as for example, I can say that for every company like us, safety is very important. But how much different jobs you give to the operators, they are losing the attention. So they should do their core job. So uh, how you can do it? You can do automation, or you can digitalize the activities they do. As I said, we were filling Excel files. We were filling paper forms. They were filling some also different notebooks, noting down the breakdown reasons, scrap reasons, something like that. So it was out of their attention. So based on this kind of labor efficiency points, it was a good time that we could convince. Also looking to the Turkish culture, let's say, uh, we are also comparing to other cultures. We want to move fast. The difficulty for me from the Turkish management, let's say, ideally this kind of activities, let's say digitalization activities, should be pilots, and you should maybe expand as little steps. But when we get the management convinced, the requirement was, let's do it for everywhere as one shot. So uh,
That actually probably created more difficulties for you to do
exactly,
it. Mhm.
exactly. But as I said, with a good team structure and with continuous support, it was possible for in 4 months of time.
Sure.
So difficulties, challenges, but also the solutions in hand. We had quite good collaboration, let's say.
Sure. So actually, from what you're saying, I'm hearing that the difficulties were not necessarily with the technical side or the implementation, physical, technical work or the communication, but it's more of the cultural side of the human part of it was the bigger
Yes,
bigger challenge. But
yes,
I think it's also very important that you said actually these systems are not uh, you know to are not against people. Actually, they are helping people do their jobs better. Once they understand it, actually they're not a barrier anymore. They actually help uh, improve the system as well.
yes, exactly,
Right.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, technically, as I said, of course, we had small difficulties, but people were very afraid that how we will collect data from 50 years old machine. So
Right.
but the solutions we could get as proposal from internal team, and also with collaboration with also ProManage site. Some basic solutions we could settle there.
Sure.
So as I said, that there is a know-how there from different business sectors. We were able to use it.
Sure, sure. So actually, I also want to make a point with the SME for SMEs. Our recommendation at this point is actually do digitalization in 3 steps. So you've done it, in one step in 4 months, and your Nitto is somewhat of a big company with multiple locations. But for SMEs, for small medium enterprises, we actually want them to do it in 3 steps. One of them is the first step is to actually just collect data on the background, more like machine monitoring. and then we actually want them to get their operators and technicians involved with operator interface. And the third phase, we want them to do the full-blown smart manufacturing with product and work order definitions and possibly ERP integration. So
Yes.
you guys have done it in one step successfully, which is wonderful. But our recommendation now for especially SMEs in USA and globally is to do this in three steps, so that it's you get ready for it in an infrastructure wise, people wise, culturally, so that the resistance is minimal. Uh,
Yes, but my recommendation would be also, as you said, so going step by step, expanding step by step will be the best, because otherwise it is also risky, because you put many efforts in there. You may face many problems, and while trying to solve those problems, the team can be frustrated.
right, right. Okay. So great. So we've talked about also the deployment phase and some of the difficulties that you have faced. So you deployed the system in 2016. So you had quite a bit of time to actually see the benefits
Yes.
of the system. So can you talk about the benefits? Especially when you consider your industry, what kind of value did smart manufacturing bring? What were the effects in business results? The amount of production that you did, you are doing, the speeds. If you can talk about those, that would be great.
Yes, just as a major point, for example, starting to give idea to you how it was a step forward for us. Uh, Comparing to 6 years ago, for example, we are more or less the same number of people, maybe less number of machines also, and the same number of the engineers. But our outcome has increased nearly double, uh, maybe 2.5 times, uh, because we were enhanced to do many improvements. Uh, as I always say at the beginning, focusing or real jobs, not focusing on the burdens, doing really good analysis, having good and reliable data in our hands. So we could do many improvements. So we are doing many kaizens, let's say, more than 250 kaizens per year we are doing. We are also doing very big automation projects also. So we can focus on them. So giving data to you, for example, after the first year we start to collect data from our machines. Our OE level was around 40%, but we could increase it up to 65%. So considering 80 machines, I think it was really good number. And also, for example, now today our OE level is more or less the same. It's around 60% again, but it doesn't mean that we are not improving. OE is consist of different parameters. For example, for the speed of the machines, we have increased the speed of the machines. So let's say that we also increase the target speed of the machines in OE system. So the OE remain the same, but the outcome increase for us. And also for the
So
cycle times is the same.
just
Uh,
to just to iterate on that. So actually, you have improved your cycle time. So if I understand it correctly, you have improved your production by uh, two and a half.
yes,
That's mainly from the cycle time improvements. So even though your OE stays the same, your uh, target cycle times have actually more than doubled, which means
yes,
your production has more than doubled after.
yes, yes. Yeah, of course. Within the years, we did many investments, many improvements on the machines. But just at the end of first year, as I said, our OE increased from 40% to around 65%. In that time, we didn't do really major improvement, but just by the help of tracking people, let's say, making an automatical improvement. Uh, it's not like watching people. It's not like recording what people are doing, but uh, when the people on the shop floor see that they are tracked, what they do is tracked, and they in the daily phase, in the within the day or the day later, what they do is questions by the engineers. They try to be consistent, they try to be sustainable what they do. So for example, we could see that within the we are working 7/24, so within the day shift and within the night shift, the outcomes and the productivities were different, what we could see. Because as I said, we could follow the people just going to the shop floor, watching what they are doing. uh, so this also made an automatical improvement, let's say. So yeah,
Sure.
that's more or less
So
what I can say.
uh, also the because the system actually allows the operators to see their own KPIs as well, right?
Yes.
So with the operator interface, it's almost like you actually give a target to your employees, and once people have targets to achieve, and once they can see actually what their targets, how they are performing with respect to their targets, actually they automatically improve their performance, right? Because you
Yes.
give them a common goal, a common language to speak of uh, within the company.
Yes. So everybody knows what OE is, what yield is. Everybody knows what scrap is. And in the Gamba walks, or in the morning meetings, let's say, we are talking with the data. And we are asking the real root cause, real reasons of what happens for that fluctuation. We are and we can also let them contribute to the KPIs. So they are also contributing to the improvement of their job.
Mhm. So it's almost like they're taking ownership of the machine and their performance, right? They also
Exactly.
almost want to improve it autonomously with the system.
Exactly, and talking about the cultures, for Turkish culture, competition is very important. So when you let people compete each other, it's really impressive. So when they see what the other shifts or the other machines how they are performing, they try to do their best. They try to contribute more.
So how do you make that happen? Do you have like screens that you use in the plant? Uh, do they see each other's KPIs? Can you talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, yeah. In all the factories, we have screens, around 20 screens in the factory, in different common halls. We have screens, and we are broadcasting real data just in time, like the OE, like the breakdown, and like the speed. This kind of data we are broadcasting on the shop floor. Also in the offices, we have screens. So we have the saying, how we say it, unknown screens
On screen,
is
right?
commonly used in the business. So they see how they and how others are performing, and also as management, when we go to shop floor, we can clearly see how one machine or the others are performing, and we can immediately focus what it needs to be done.
Mhm, mhm. Okay. So actually, we have a question from the audience. So Derek Turner is asking, you talk about the resistance of the employees. So on average, how long did it take for them to get used to the new system? Were they satisfied after getting used to the system, and how did it help them? So that's a question from the audience.
Uh, in here, I can say also thank you for the question. So it's nice to see these questions are coming. In here, I can mention two points actually. One is how much as project team or as management team or engineers, how much you contribute to, how much you help them to make the system use as efficient as possible. So for our case, for example, uh, at the beginning we were going in night shifts to the factory. We were going to Gamba and helping them to use it easily. But in that point also, the program, I mean the software itself is important. So I can say that for ProManage case, it's a user friendly and it has really very basic user interface. So it is very easy for them to use. And I could see that the operators made also many contributions to improve the system itself. So they were saying, if we have this kind of button here, if you have this kind of combo box here, something like that, we can do it easier. So we could collect them also from them, turning back to ProManage and have their suggestion applied on the software itself, were making them also accept it easier. So they could they get convinced that they are listened and their contributions are acknowledged. So I can mention these 3 points actually.
Mhm. Thank you. Um, so my other question is, considering the experience you had with, deploying ProManage smart manufacturing, and also considering the lean manufacturing perspective, and also the vision of Nitto going forward. How does the smart manufacturing help, with continuous improvement, Kaizen work? How does it improve? How does it help with reducing costs, maybe improving yields, in terms of production planning, and in terms of your investments? Actually, I mean, do you use any of the feedback that's coming from a smart manufacturing system when you're doing investment planning?
Yes, starting from the end, to your question, uh, for us, the we are always every year planning the next year's investment plan, and also we have 5 years of midterm plan always in our hands. In the past, we were doing the investment and also capacity planning based on the assumptions, because there was not really there was some ERP data, of course, but it was the production data. It was not machine output. So because in that the scrap is not included, engineering scrap is not included, also non-conformity was not included. So we didn't have real machine output. But for last 5 6 years, we have really real capacity utilization ratio data in our hands, machine by machine. Uh, Also, when we have this capacity utilization ratio comparing to our previous assumptions, there were really gaps between them. So at the moment, we are really quite accurate about planning the investment plans, coming from based on the market forecast. We can plan our investment plan. This is really important for us, and also, as I said, we can really focus on our own job. We can make improvements. We are making very many kaizens actually on the shop floor. So we have really improved our yield during this time. So our yield was around 91%. So let's say that around 9% scrap we could have. But around at the moment, our yield is around 97, 97.5. So the cost point of view, this is really important. And I had made a study about. It is always a question mark, a discussion in the business, how how the benefit of digitalization is calculated. I had made a study about this one because not directly but indirectly, having digitalization on the shop floor helped us doing kaizens, improve the scrap, improve the machine efficiency, improve the labor efficiency, and also decrease the energy cost. So this is the outcome. And when I had calculated this outcome, it was 2.2 years for the payback of the investment.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, it was some years ago. With the energy prices today, if I'll calculate, I think it will be less also. So energy prices are booming, you know. So this was really important item actually for us, more or less. Yo,
Mhm.
yeah,
So
that's what I can mention.
in general, you are using the direct data from ProManage to do your investment planning. It's a direct
Yes,
input to you. You have improved your OE very quickly from around 40% to 60%. And then in terms of speed or the amount of production, you have improved about 2.5 times after the deployment of a smart manufacturing system. So these are really huge benefits.
yes, yes. I can count more, but that's the major bullet points I can mention.
Sure. I think this is very helpful for manufacturers listening. So we've talked about this a little bit, but maybe just to talk more about the culture. So in terms of the way blue collar and white collar workers, the culture of their work, and the culture of the company, how did smart manufacturing affect this culture? Both in the white collar domain and the blue color domain. Can you also comment a little bit more about those?
Yes, at the moment, uh, in our organization, even all blue colors, they all know ProManage, and they contribute too much, and they even have, some of them cannot say ProManage, some of them, most of them say ProMation, for example. But it's really nice that they really, I see engineers working with blue colors and the supervisors analyzing the data. We have also give authorization to the shift supervisors and the foremans to access the interface of the ProManage. So, for example, they are correcting the let's say unfilled data or wrongly filled selected breakdown, let's say they are correcting this themselves at the moment, and they are coming with ideas to us. We should define this kind of breakdown reason, for example. We should define this kind of scrap reason, because it is easy. It's also very easy for them. So to follow up their production process, and also the KPIs like OE and yield is their direct KPI at the moment. So they are responsible for it. For each machine, we have targets actually periodically, and these periods are daily, weekly, and monthly. There are layered meetings to dig into the reasons why we are out of OE targets, for example. They contribute directly, and also in terms of white color, let's say, at the beginning, my me and my team, we were trying to deploy the system, but at the moment when we come to today, I'm very happy to see that, for example, OE is production department has acknowledged that OE is their KPI, so they're responsible to follow it. For example, for engineering team, they acknowledge that technical breakdown percentage is their direct KPI. They're following it. Labor efficiency, planning team has and HR team has acknowledged that this is their KPI. So labor efficiency they are following. So uh, we have built a culture. So this is not a system. So this is kind of culture. And when they have their KPI and they have the ownership, of course they come with ideas how to improve it. So, for example, we were using just uh, production module at the beginning of ProManage, but then the engineering team come and they said that let's integrate also the planning maintenance module to ProManage, because we have breakdown reasons there, we have machines there. So if we can build our maintenance system on it, we can have better follow up. And not just the machines, also the, let's say, infrastructures like the generators, elevators, everything is connected to ProManage now. Or uh, uh, one another team, for example, or accounting team has come that why not we have the energy data here? Why not we use it for pricing purposes? Because energy pricing in production cost was just assumption, but we have data there. So I hope I can understand. So
Yeah,
there are many
yeah,
things to tell here.
sure.
I just try to give examples here.
No, these are very, very, very important examples. That it's amazing they can actually. It's amazing that each department takes ownership of the KPI that's related to them and try to improve it and come up with ideas on how to improve it. So it's important to have a system. So it almost proves that a smart manufacturing system actually helps people. It's not against the people. It's actually helps people, and it helps them take ownership of their own KPIs and their own processes. So it's those are great examples. So we are
Yeah.
actually running out of time. So I have
Ah,
some extra questions, and then actually there are other questions from the audience as well. So I'm gonna ask them kind of quickly to get general answers on each of them. So I think you mentioned this in general, but in terms of the investment as a for a smart manufacturing system, uh, and I think you answered this, but I'm going to ask it again. So, what's the return on investment a typical manufacturer in US can expect to have?
yeah, for our case, going to the beginning, half of let's say 40% of the investment was the software, but 60% of the investment was the technical improvements on the shop floor, like the cabling or connecting to the machine PLCs, putting some sensors, putting some encoders to collect the data. So it was 60%. So majority was the technical improvements. Uh, because we had partially old machine park actually, but somehow we could connect all of them. We could manage collect data from all of them. So even with that scope, when I calculate the improvements in terms of OEE efficiency, scrap and energy and labor efficiency, something like that, uh, it, it was not assumption. Actually, it was quite professional calculation. What I did, I worked on it. Also, I collaborated with ProManage colleagues, but the return of investment was 2.2 years in
Mhm,
that time.
mhm,
I did this calculation around 2019, something like that.
mhm, mhm. Okay. Uh, so the other question is, so you've been in the smart manufacturing for some time, and this is not just you implement a software and it's done. It's kind of like a journey, right? So
Yeah.
how do you manage strategically the digitalization process? I think you kind of mentioned that there are a lot of feedback input from the uh, different departments at Nitto. But how do
Yes.
you how do you manage this process? How do you um, add new features? How do you uh, get um, new ideas to the smart manufacturing table?
If actually, I just mentioned it's not just doing some software installation. It's like building up some culture in the company. So after we did a implementation in Nitto Turkey, it was also acknowledged that within Nitto, as a company like Nitto, it was not also as mature as what we did. So we were really at advanced level. So we could see some step forwards, not also in Turkey, also in other facilities of Nitto. I could see people from Nitto Japan coming to Nitto Turkey to do benchmark studies, how to build up, how to expand this culture in the company. For example, after we did these improvements, our facility in Belgium also did the same improvements after 3 years after us. So they are also now trying to build up the same culture in there, and this led the company, not just Nitto Turkey, in Nitto. To go to the idea of digitalization. So for last 2 years, for example, we spent efforts to define the digital maturity of the company. So the road is coming what we did. So now it's come to define the digital maturity of the company, and we have seen that there are many gaps in the company in Nitto Turkey and also in Nitto Europe, for example. And now a general roadmap with very high level has been defined. So for our case also, based on the feedbacks and inputs from the people, we started with the manufacturing part, but then we build up the maintenance part on it. We build up the energy management part on it. uh, Now also we are trying to go one step forward to go to the machine learning,
Mhm.
because we could see the light. In the past, the light was very far away. It was dark in the tunnel, but we could see the light that in the quality part, in the maintenance part, we can do machine learning. Why not to do it?
Mhm.
Because we have many data, and we have real time data, not just the speed or the quantity data from the machines. We can collect also other parameters of the machines, and we can do artificial intelligence. So
Mhm.
we are at that step at the moment. For around 2 years, we are working on it.
Mhm.
We have already started for some machines. So uh, improvement is bringing another improvement. So
Sure.
you never stop.
Sure. Okay. So I'm going to switch a little bit to a slightly different topic. So you actually implemented ProManage in Nitto, and then actually you personally is a big factor in implementing ProManage in Nitto, Belgium. And then I know Nitto Japan and other Nitto companies around the world are spending a lot of effort on digitalization. And then you also have different cultural experiences with, Turkey, Japan, and then U.S. culture before Nitto. So can you a little bit talk about the differences in cultures and how that affects smart manufacturing implementations within a company?
Yes. I think for Japanese part, I mostly mentioned is to be conservative about this kind of steps. But once they acknowledge, you move slow, but you move quite, let's say, smooth. So that's what we have at the moment also. Uh, Considering the Turkish culture, as I said, it's helped us for the competition within the company and to contribute to the people, because uh, Turkish people try to contribute their job as much as possible. They always think some improvements. Uh, for example, for a Japanese operator, if you give a routine job, they always do that one, and they don't think anything else. But they do their best. But for our case, we always think I work on one task, but I also consider other tasks. So it helps people to contribute about it, and more or less, I can say that from my previous experience, U.S. culture is also a little bit similar to us. So it's always fast reaction, so fast improvement, fast decisions, quick decisions, so to be made. So for if one decision takes 3 months, for a US guy it takes maybe 1 2 days. So it's quite lean about making decisions. So it's really important to have good reliable data in the hand and to make decisions as soon as possible for kind of improvements or for the investment is, I think, is really quite critical. And not just thinking the business world and considering the real world around, the technology in our hands, we know how much it is enhanced in US, for example, comparing to Japan. So you can see some old traditions in Japan, but in US every year something is changing. So
Sure.
I don't think it's really difficult to be motivated on this kind of step forwards.
Mhm, mhm. So there is a question. I think this is a quick answer. Derek asks, how long did it take to double the production amount for Nitto? It's actually 2.5. But how long was this? How long of a
Uh,
process was this?
Around 5 6 years.
5 6 years. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Um, so we've gone through all the process. Gani, so can you share your last words to manufacturers in US and also around the world about smart manufacturing as a experienced person who has done this multiple times before.
I can briefly mention that at the beginning, the word Industry 4.0 was quite confusing for me. So I know that there is a lot of information around flying. Some of them are correct, some of them are wrong. So that's why it's making people convinced if this is really beneficial or not. But Industry 4.0, let's say, is a very wide range. You need to focus what you really need. So if you need 3D printing, yes, you can focus on it. If you need, let's say, artificial intelligence, you can focus on it. For our case, it was just-in-time follow-up missing in the production. So we started with that, and then other needs come along, and the business let us to be able to go for it. So the technology is enhanced, but I know that the knowledge level in people about this is quite fluctuating. So it's important to focus the real needs actually. So, and it's not just, as I said, it's not just digitalization, it's building up kind of culture. It's cultural change. Culture changes are quite difficult, but when you are able to do it, it's really delicious. For
Sure,
my case, I can say.
sure. Okay. Um, so I think we're about done. So thank you, Gani, for answering all those questions, sharing your experience. I think it was very helpful for the viewers. Thank you very much again.
It was really nice talking, nice discussion, and nice to see you again. I wish you good afternoon, maybe,
Yes.
and I wish the best for everyone.
Thank you very much.